Hello, welcome. Hamish Conway here, and this is TACOS Tuesday. Now, you might be wondering, where is Seb? Well, Seb is having a well-deserved holiday, and like often happens before you go away, you're absolutely slammed with work to get done. And so today, I just thought I would give you a bit of a background kind of story on how Sell Global got started, and hence the title Confessions of an Amazon Agency Owner. And arguably, you could put the word in there, accidental agency owner. And so I'm going to run through whether you are selling on Amazon already or have an e-commerce business. Why you'd want to listen to this here is you're going to learn some of the insights that go on and behind an agency, and in particular with Amazon, and what's important in an agency to actually make it work. Then if you are a professional services business owner or just a business owner or someone who kind of knows me and might have followed me there, you'll just get a background into some of the journey over the last 8.5 years and what's worked, what hasn't, some of the challenges, etc. So yeah, I thought we'd just do this as something to share. And I said before, they're 8.5 years, so it's going to be a condensed version, but I'll give you a bit of a story here to listen to as you might be driving home from work or to work. Anyway, so let's dive right in. So I've got like 7 key points that I'm going to cover off. I'll just work through those. I'll look down my bit of paper here and then share them with you. But look, so how it all began, and that this is the long story short, is it was back in 2013, and not long ago I'd sold a business and I ended up in a bigger accounting group. I had an accounting firm that I'd sold, and I was looking at, well, what else can I do that's not going to conflict? Wasn't loving it, to be perfectly honest. I've had my own businesses for so long, and this little interim period was okay, but it wasn't quite my jam. Anyway, so I came across selling on Amazon, and so I invested in this course. And I spent like 3 months, my evenings and weekends, just figuring it out. And I settled on doing these edge guards from, foam edging that you put around coffee tables and other sharp edges there so kids didn't whack their heads. At the time, I had a 2-year-old coming on 3-year-old boy who was running around the place like a mad thing, and thought, right, that would be a good solution that's real in my life. And so purchased it from China, put it on a plane and flew it across to the USA. And on the first day, I sold like 6 units. I was like, holy cow, this actually works. And then started to pay a lot more attention. And then from there, grew that particular brand, and then partnered up with a friend, and we added more brands in the baby category, from car seat protectors and nappy bags and nappy change kits, and then just kind of grew into all sorts of things. And we started selling in the UK and Europe, and wholesaling brands from the US into UK and Europe. And it just kind of took on a life of its own. But out of the gate, it went really well, and we did over $1.2 million in our first full year. So then on the back of that, I had another friend who was selling on Amazon as well, who I got started there, and people were asking us, hey, could you help us sell on Amazon? And and I'm from New Zealand, and this is in New Zealand. So for these companies, they were having to export, right? So it's a bigger deal. No, it's not just putting it on the marketplace. You've actually got to meet all the regulatory side of things, compliance, etc., shipping costs, and all of that there had to make sense. And so we had people coming, and so we're trying to figure it out as we go along and go, okay, yeah, let's start an agency. That sounds like a good idea, while we're still running our own businesses. And we got some clients on, didn't really know how to charge. We were sort of like undercooked it, and we're doing a percentage of sales thing. In some cases that worked really well. And with one of our early clients, like Honey Sticks, who, if you have a look on Amazon now, like they're doing really, really well, like super well. And so it was awesome to get them started. And still, we're still a client all these 8.5 years on, and help them in slightly different ways now. But we were trying percentage of sales or a fixed fee, and just trying to figure it out. It was almost like you grab any business that's coming towards you. And after about a year and a bit, I ended up buying the other partner out, and then just being me. So that's kind of the long story short, how we sort of accidentally got going. And we were working with like New Zealand Trade and Enterprise and Export New Zealand, and getting companies to help them export to America and the UK and Europe. And look, and it was going quite well. Like, to be honest, Amazon used to be really easy. God, if I could go back in time, knowing how relatively easy it was back then compared to now. And that's just because of all the competition. Amazon is, really helping the Chinese factories go more direct, and just the costs and the fees have kind of kept on going up and up and up. So now you've got to be super smart about it. Back in the day, it was like you get anything out of China or another country, put a sticker on it and send it in. But now, then it evolved, you had to have a really defensible point of difference because software came in and just made it easier to find these little niche opportunities there that you could. Anyway, so that was really how it all began, and it was great to, like, something I've always had in my different businesses. One was like doing customer service, outdoor adventure, conference events, activities. And then I was doing sales and marketing coaching groups, working with small, medium business owners, and then an accounting firm. And so I've always really liked to be helping businesses. And when it comes to the e-commerce game, I absolutely take my hat off to the small, medium business owners who have come up with an idea for a product. They've got it, they've given it a brand, or product or range of products, and then they've manufactured the product, and they've then got it to the market, and they're selling. Like, this is a really tough business to be in, and it takes a lot of courage, a lot of guts, and a lot of creativity and determination. So I take my hat off, and have from day one take my hat off and tip my hat to the brand owners, particularly of the small, medium business owners there, because there's it's tough, and there's so many things to do now in terms of, from a marketing point of view, the way you're driving traffic and your creatives and just all the different channels and countries, etc. So that's been a real pleasure to help these companies in ways that we can, and I think it's a shame that, like, it is pretty tough. Like, even now, more so, like for New Zealand companies in particular, because they're exporting, like, it's a pretty tough environment for that. So if you do see someone who owns a brand, like, from your country, well, I'm in New Zealand here, or from Australia as well, then do buy from them. Give them the encouragement and support that they absolutely deserve for taking that leap. So what else have I got here? What was interesting is there was a tipping point. Obviously, like, COVID happened, and that was all a bit crazy, and there was a bit of a step change in Amazon, particularly in Australia, and even in the States. It's kind of like a 20% step change. Just went boom, and then continued on. And then a lot of people at that time were kind of piling and going, "Hey, can you help us? Can you help us?" And would kind of, so we started down that track, but a lot of them were kind of a bit late, really. And it was something they arguably should have been thinking about earlier. And it was a bit of a kind of a crazy sort of time, shipping rates and all of that. But that all kind of passed. But we ended up working with a big Australian brand, Weber Barbecues. And so this was a great project, getting them all set up from scratch on Amazon and actually also eBay at the time. And we worked with them over a couple of years to build them from nothing right up. And in doing that there, then I just kind of hit this point, looking at Amazon Australia getting bigger. And I was looking around the room at the team, the virtual room with the team, and just going, actually, we really know what we're doing. Why are we not also working with these bigger brands more? Like, let's actually just do that. And so this was really about 2 years ago, or not even 2 years ago, coming up 2 years ago. And so I just go, right, let's go into Australia and let's really commit to that marketplace and start approaching big brands to help them. And so that was this kind of, you have this like or this gap, or what do you call it, imposter syndrome, to go, well, who are we to think that we can really help that? Because, you start off as a small agency. But with the skills and experience and absolute competency we had in the room, it was like, right, let's get after it. And so we did this, and we're reaching out, and we started to get these opportunities, and with some really big brands. So with Asahi Lifestyle Beverages, who sell Pepsi and Gatorade and Schweppes and Lipton Tea, Mountain Dew, 7-Up, and all of that. So we started running their advertising, and then also other brands like Oxo, Scanpan, Victorinox, NutriBullet, Scrub Daddy, and so we just were like bold and going, right, let's go and talk to these brands. And the thing is, because we actually had the skills, we started to get amazing results for these clients. So that was a really interesting step. And so for anyone who's got a business, you might be thinking about, are we up for this here? Like, yes, you are. Like, we found I had this like ceiling of who we could work with, or how good we were or not. But then actually just asking a better question. And the question arguably wasn't the best one. The world was like, why not us? Like, that's a kind of a negative one. But it's like, but it was more like, absolutely, we can do this. And we did. And so we've continued to now are in Australia, really build up a reputation and helping a lot of the vendor clients in particular, and these bigger brands. So that was a really interesting step. And then just another, some other observations, because we've been doing this for a long time and we've helped now over 400 brands. There's some some themes or, common observations that we see. And I think, and these ones here are probably on the, I talked before around the amazing courage and, how we should absolutely be patting everyone on the back who's started a brand and is really pushing to do that. And what I do notice now, though, observations, because it has become a lot harder from an e-commerce point of view, is that some brands are starting to, they look to go, right, we're going to export and we'll go to these 10 different countries but the challenge is they start to spread themselves too thin. And so what we now, like, we'll have people coming to us going, hey, could you help us on Amazon? And in the beginning, you're kind of like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And yeah, well, this is how much it's going to be. But now we have these conversations about, is this even a good idea for you to do this? Whether it's an Australian company going to the States, New Zealand company doing that, or even going to Australia. And so we're finding that a lot of companies aren't ready to go, or not now, because there is this compliance piece. There is the lack of understanding around exactly what's involved to be successful in exporting to a new country, and how competitive it is. And so this is something here that we, more often we're now delivering that kind of news that maybe you're not ready. And if you are, this is what it's going to take to actually sell in this market and give it a good shot and be successful. And often that also involves not just Amazon, it has to be, other channels to really justify it. Because there's some categories in America, and for people from America, this will be no surprise, where the ads investment to get onto page one is significant. You're 20, 50, even 100,000 a month if you really want to push the boat out to make it work, and that's just not achievable for a lot of brands. So I think this perspective here of them not being ready is an interesting one. So there's that work to do and education there to help them with. And then actually on the other hand, then where you've got these bigger brands in Australia, and the observation there is that they are not taking it seriously or not realizing the actual potential of it. So this is often a big part of our, we're finding we're having to educate on this is where things are going, as it has in the US and the UK and these other countries. So it's still really an immature market here. And what that means is, established brands can get away with less than optimal product listings or advertising strategies. And so they can kind of think, well, actually, we're doing all right anyway, because Amazon is bucking the trend compared to any other channels, actually. So it is continuing to grow. It's grown up to the end of last year, it grew 78%. So that bucking the trend is interesting, but companies are still not taking it seriously enough to really have their brand presence be really on point and actually have a proper advertising strategy to really grow their sales. Now, many brands are kind of wanting to balance out, well, how much do we want to sell to Amazon, etc. So that's all valid as well. But I still think there's a lot of brands there just not giving it the attention it deserves. Then, as I reflect on what's been the hardest parts, and there's been a lot, right? Anytime you're growing a business, there's decisions you make that are bad. You're either making them too fast or too slow, and whether it's around people or different angles you want to go down in terms of marketing or some other training things or hiring people, and so no one's perfect, right? you gotta make sometimes maybe a slow learner on some of those. So that's been challenging, and also it's been 8.5 years, and man, it's been full on, because things never change, right? Things never change. God, it's the exact opposite. Things are constantly changing, particularly at Amazon. And so it is kind of all consuming, which I naturally kind of gravitate to doing probably too much work, and that's not ideal. And there's this motivation and drive to have it go well, and you've got the team and you've got clients, and you just want to, it's kind of like a never-ending goal that keeps on, goalpost that keeps on moving out. And so it is, I still find it really hard to like stop and rest. And I think last time I did that was back in July, and I think I did a post on LinkedIn on that, where my resting heart rate and heart rate variability, did all the right things. And so I got to get better at that. There's little confession there. And then actually, but the other hardest thing, this is a bit of a an interesting one. The hardest part of our business is in fact Amazon. So we have what we call the like 20% of our time is really just burnt, you could say, as no value to no one, based on it. We internal term we have called Amazon dumb shit that they do, which is it's their own doing, and it shouldn't be that way. It's around catalog issues or account opening issues, brand registry, and losing buy box, and there's all these weird things that happen with Amazon that just waste everyone's time and adds no value, but it's like it is part of the beast, you could say. So we find that really frustrating. And even then on the so that's kind of on the third party side, on the vendor retail side, we find kind of in Australia, and the vendor people probably won't listen to this here, so I'll say it. And if you do, feel free to reach out. But we have a really good relationship with the third party guys in Australia, like Nicholas Manetis and all the crew there. They're really great. Love that. On the retail side, whole different ball game. Like never, no, we've got like one kind of insider in there that we talk to, but I've got this it's a funny thing in Amazon, like the third party team, which is where you are selling like on consignment, and then retail is where they send purchase orders and you negotiate a price and they'll pay you 60, 90 days, depending on how that goes. But these two teams don't really talk to each other. And they kind of compete with each other, which even makes it more interesting. And then you got Amazon ads as a different part to it as well. So you kind of got this triangle of these three different teams and it's like these, these brick walls between them. So the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. It gets really frustrating. And the retail team in Australia, so Amazon's building up momentum, but they're trying to flex their muscles and flex their size, right? And it's kind of weird because, for many of these brands like Woolies and Coles are way bigger and actually more profitable for these brands as well. And so it's interesting to see the attitude there, and they're suppressing products and just doing all sorts of weird things that actually don't help the consumer or don't help Amazon themselves and doesn't help the client. And so that's really frustrating as well. Like there's things that happen like that. And so clients go, well, we're just not going to be spending on ads for a while. And so then and it's you're doing good work, but there's just some weird things going on there that you just you can't control. And so that's been pretty frustrating as well. So one day we'll have a chat to the Amazon retail team, I'm sure. Anyway, so that's been interesting there. But look, the most important part, and probably no surprise in this sort of business, is around people. It's I was looking on Slack before to see how many people we've actually had over the last 8.5 years work for us. And the number was like 68. There's probably some more for that before we had Slack. I don't know how long Slack's been around, but there was some names that I recognized from way back. And it's such Amazon is quite a niche skill set, really. So I live in Wellington, New Zealand, and none of my team are here. We work remotely because finding the skill set is quite difficult. And particularly it's a combination of skill set. Like you need people with commercial acumen. And a lot of our senior team have all sold on Amazon themselves. So they just know all the inner workings, and it's something that, and actually 3 of them still are selling on Amazon as well. So, there's this interest that they have in knowing what the best approach is. And so they're always constantly studying, learning, but they've got commercial acumen, good communicators, and they know Amazon. So that's how we kind of started. And early on, it was harder to find those people, but now there is a bit more of an ecosystem and around that. But still, it's been interesting just building up the scale it right. And because it is tricky, right? You've got this balancing act of the right sort of skilled people, and you've got to pay these people well, and then you're balancing clients and how when you hire them, when you grow, and if something happens, to good clients, and then you just got this constant juggling act, which is really kind of interesting. But over the last year, we've really started to, and arguably should have done this sooner. And this is because, for me, my skill set is not necessarily in building processes and that side of things. In the last year, I've got an amazing management team, 2 people, Annika Jepson, who's head of client delivery, and Sebastian, who we do the podcast here with, who's head of ads. And the 3 of us work really well together, getting on the same page, building the processes, building the right roles, and we know who we need to hire for next. and if someone drops off, we know how to quickly get them on board and train them, and all that there's just been working a whole lot better, which is just changes the game. And so I'm so grateful to those two people there, and just really on the delivery side that we have so much confidence. I have so much confidence now because it is true. Like, clients are getting a great experience, great service, and also great results as well. And we've got clients that have been with us right from the beginning, and so that's a testament to the team and the results that we get. But as a business owner, like, you carry so much of this on your shoulders. But to know when you've got two leaders in the business as well who absolutely own it and take care of it, that's awesome. And look, and so that's at management level. But then in the team, there's like Mark, who's been with me now for 6 to 7 years, and he's a legend. It just really loves his customers, loves doing the right thing for them, and getting great work, and getting great results. And then Susie's been with us nearly 3-4 years. She's a great support to me and getting everything done as well. So the people part is so critical, right? And that's in a services business, it is all about people and the processes there to really drive it. So that's been a big thing for me to really get on track, and so delighted to have that in play now. What else? I guess there's so that's kind of a lot of the the background in a abridged version, and then so now it's really, well, what's next from here. And the interesting thing with Amazon, I mean, it changes all the time. Every quarter there's something new. There's more competition coming in, and there's different things happening. So part of the what's next is just keeping on top of all these changes, and also success on Amazon. And what we really aim to do is just constant improvements, like testing this image over that image, and what about this title here, or let's do this ad campaign here. We're going to target these competitors, and so it's constantly testing and seeing what's working, and then applying what works over the other accounts that we have as well. In some ways, there is no silver bullet. Like, it is constantly getting better and better at the core functions of the brand content and design and search terms. Amazon is a search engine, so you've got to be all over that. Advertising is such a critical piece to it. Then there is the strategy with absolutely having the right numbers and help people with getting more money back from Amazon, that they from fee recovery side of things as well. And then there's also just some other projects that we're looking at in terms of driving traffic from external sources like social media, other paid ad platforms. And then there's also, I've got on the back of my mind like a data project, like, because we're working with a lot of brands now, there is, we're starting to get a lot more data points. And one thing, Amazon is pretty, close to its chest in terms of information, compared to if you're selling in Coles or Woolies, you've got a lot more data there. So that's something that we're just looking at doing, which is, it's just thinking about how can we add value and really help our customers. So a few things there to think about as we look at what is coming down the pipeline. So there you go. So there's the short story and some confessions that we'll make. Having a business for 8.5 years is interesting, because you go through these kind of journey, these little dips where you hate it, and other times where you love it, and there's the challenge. And I think I'm quite competitive. As it turns out, I used to play a lot of sport and kind of carry that through, and I do like winning, as it were. Not that we're well, in some ways you're competing against other agencies. Actually get on quite well with the other agencies in Australia, but it's really, it's about helping the customers win, because we do that, we know that we'll win as well. And so I am, like, while I'm doing this here, you might have picked up, actually quite excited about it, and looking forward to just how we can keep on helping more and more brands. So there you go. Thanks for listening in. And if you do want to connect with Sell Global, you can go to gosellglobal.com, and we're continuing to really build lots of resources to share. We've got some that we'll be adding to the webpage very soon, in terms of it reaches over this guide here, the Amazon design concepts to turn lookers into buyers. So, like, for example, we just go through all the different, if you're just listening to this, you won't see it. Anyway, so we've got a lot of resources coming up, and great training content and other templates, etc. there. So keep on tuning in, and next time we should have Seb back, and we'll dive into a few more advertising topics. Anyway, Thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate you. Thank you very much.